So every bit of this is really to warm you up or sort of prime you to why attention is very important. This is sort of the outline of what this entire lecture is going to be. So attention is going to be like how do we perceive the whole scenes. We're going to talk today about theories of attention, some very general theories of attention, and a couple of techniques for studying attention. That's the two things that I'm going to hit on today. In this lecture overall, you'll also go through physiological basis of attention, attention, single cells, disorders of attention, and then finally you'll finish with scene recognition. And I'm primarily going to talk to you today about the first two. So attention. William James, who is the father of American psychology, he started the very first psychological lab at Harvard, famously said that everyone knows what attention is. However, when you actually start to think about it, it can actually be very difficult to properly define. It seems that attention is the concentration, mental effort to focus, the focus or the concentration of mental effort on sensory stimuli and as well as internal stimuli. So if you think about this, we can attend to things in our environment. I can attend to all of you. You can attend to my voice. You can attend to what it is that I'm actually talking about. You can attend to other things in our environment as well. Perhaps maybe you can attend to the person next to you. But you can also attend to mental events as well, right? So you can attend to, let's say you're trying to remember where is it that I put my keys. That's something that I typically lose often. Where are my keys? And you can attend to, especially if retrieving that memory is very difficult, you can attend to trying to retrieve that memory, right? Other mental events that you may attend to, you can attend to, of course, what it is that I'm saying, but you can also attend to maybe your thoughts on, or your interpretations on what it is that I'm saying as well, right? So you attend to things in your external world, you can attend to things in your internal world, and it seems that attention is just concentration of mental effort or focus. Now, why is it that we actually need attention? Why is it that we as humans and other animals need this construct of attention? Why do we need the mechanisms that are attention? Why are they important? And logically, there just seems to be way too much information in our environment and in our internal world to process everything all at once. And these limits are importantly not just simply due to limitations in like visual acuity in the periphery. So I know earlier in the semester you talked a lot about like, peripheral vision and how peripheral vision has very limited visual acuity compared to central vision. I want to prime you or get why are some of the reasons why visual acuity is poor in the periphery. Less cones, okay, very good, that's one. So we have more cones in central vision than we have in peripheral vision. Okay, what's something else that's very important as to why visual acuity is not as good in the periphery as what it is in central vision? Okay, yeah, what about the phobia? It is the central vision. Yep, it's the point of focus, or point of where your eye is located, what it is that you're looking at.
There's more convergence in the peripherals.
Yes, that's the big one that I was looking for. The receptive field size is actually much larger in the periphery than what it is in central vision. So what happens is you actually get a lot more convergence of retinal cells more converging on a central ganglion in the periphery in comparison to what you actually have in central vision, where it seems that there's more of retinal cells and ganglion cells tend to have a one-to-one relationship as opposed to so much convergence. Okay? But the limits of peripheral vision, like the fact that peripheral vision is limited in terms of visual acuity, isn't the reason why it is that we need attention. Okay? And your book actually provides this demonstration. So we're very busy people, we're all students. Why don't we just increase the size of our text in our books, or like maybe on your computer, and try to read 2 books at once. I would love to actually be able to have this ability. It would save so much time. And you can actually try this. So both the font, so the size of the text on the left and on the right is the same. And what I want you to do is, while looking at the central X's, okay, so your point of fixation on the central X's, and try to read both sentences at the same time. And what you'll probably find is that you can't do it. I know, like, when I tried to do this, what ended up happening was I was pulling maybe a word from the left and then a word from the right, and then maybe another word on the left and then another one on the right, and then trying to put them together, and I just couldn't make sense of it all, right? And the reason is because you can't attend to both and understand both sentences at the same time. However, importantly, this isn't just due to limitations of peripheral vision, right? Because the font is the same size on the left as it is the right. Right? So we have attention because it's impossible to process everything at the same time. Other interesting little things, little nuggets, to demonstrate that it's not just due to limitations in peripheral vision, where these limitations are coming from. They seem to be coming from something more cognitive. There have been studies, eye tracking experiments. So in the lab, we have a machine where you can actually track where it is on the screen that a person is looking while, say, they're doing the count the passes of the team wearing the white shirts in the gorilla demonstration. And something interesting that's been found is that sometimes people will actually look at the gorilla, like directly at it. They will fixate it. We know where it is that they're looking because we have a machine that says this is where they're looking at a certain time when the gorilla came into view. And yet people will still miss the gorilla. So even when you're pointing your high-resolution phobia at the gorilla, you can still completely miss it. And the idea being that, well, you're just not attending to that location, even though that is where you're looking. All right, so to rehash, attention is a concentration and mental effort to focus on sensory stimuli, so things in our environment, as well as internal stimuli, or internal mental events. And we need attention because there's just too much information for us to process at one time. And it seems that these limitations are not just due to limitations of visual acuity in the periphery. Another really good example that we can use is the Where's Waldo? So how many of you know or have seen this before? Like you know who Waldo is, right? Okay. What I want you to do is I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to find where Waldo is. And whenever you find Waldo, raise your hand. Okay? It'll be pretty hard. Okay? probably going to be harder for those in the back. So I think there are maybe people over here that have not yet. So right there, there's Waldo. So from this, we can actually ask, so why did it actually take you so long to be able to find Waldo?
You didn't know where he was at first. You didn't know where you were trying to find the spot.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So yeah, you didn't know where Waldo was, so you didn't know where to attend. And there's something actually that's sort of interesting about this as well, because if you search for Waldo again, you know exactly where he is. And it's strange that the first time that you searched for Waldo, you had no idea where he was at. It took you a really long time to find him. But then after you know where he is, just sort of introspectively, it seems like it's super obvious, right? Here's another demonstration. So this is the dog named Momo. Momo's owner took lots of photographs of him all over the world, okay? And it's a cute dog. However, Momo isn't always the easiest dog to find. And there's actually a book. There's a book that Momo's owner has actually published of Momo in all these different places in the world. However, he's not always very easy to find. So I'm going to show you a picture. And again, what I want you to do is whenever you find Momo, I want you to raise your hand. Okay? This one's probably going to be a little bit harder than the Where's Waldo. You ready? Again, it's always so obvious when you know where he's at, right? And there's Momo. So again, this is another example of how it was there's just so much information in the picture that it was very difficult to find him, and it takes a lot of time to find where Momo is. So one of the ways in which we can actually look at why it is that it takes time to find something that we're looking for. And I want to also emphasize that, so visual search, these are fun like games, right? Like the Where's Waldo or the Where's Momo demonstration. However, visual search is something that we do all the time, even though we may not necessarily be aware of it. So oftentimes, like say at the end of class when you get up to leave, you're going to be doing a visual search test looking for the door, even though you may know where it's at. Or we search for our keys all the time. Radiologists search, X-rays and mammograms for cancerous tumors. Visual search has a lot of real-world implications. But one of the ways in which we can actually look at and investigate why it is that it takes so long to find whatever it is, the target of our search, the thing that we're looking for, is by looking at eye movements. So this is a video that I'm going to show you of someone who is a former graduate student here who did the exact same task that you just did with the same picture, trying to find where Mona was located. Okay? In our lab, we actually have a machine that can actually track your eye movements on the computer screen. So the little green dot here is going to represent where it is that Laura Adair is who it was, is the former graduate student who was doing this task. And the green dot is going to correspond to where it is that she was looking. I may have to just pull up the video like this.
You can just click on the bottom.
Oh. That'll work too. So she found Mono pretty quick, probably faster than most of us in here. I remember myself for this example, I never was able to actually find it. Yeah, let's watch that again because that was very quick. And again, the green dot is going to represent where it is that Laura was looking while searching for Mono. Yep. So these are the actual eye fixations plotted. Her fixations, what you can see is that each of the circles on the picture actually represent where it is that she was looking. These, where the moments where the eye was still, these are known as fixations. The size of the circles actually correspond to what we call fixation durations. So this is going to be how long the eye was still at that location. And we can, to better visualize this, I'm actually going to remove the picture and just show the eye movements, okay? And then, I didn't mention this, the lines actually correspond to, they're the saccades, or the eye movements themselves. They actually provide you information about the ordering of the fixation. So, not just where it is that Laura was looking, but also when in time she was actually looking at that location. It's kind of hard to see here, but the saccades actually have arrows on them there and there and there that tell you that, okay, she started in the center, she looked here, looked over here, and then looked over there. So what are some things that you can actually notice from this?
It's kept really center view, like I looked at it up and down from left to right, but that's way different.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they're all sort of in the center. They're all like horizontal, back and forth. That's good.
She saw Momo for a quick second, looked away, and then came back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that as well. That's sort of weird for that to happen. I really don't have a good explanation for that, though. But it's something that I have seen in other data, where people will actually like look at what it is that they're supposed to be searching for. They'll directly fixate it, they'll look at it, and then they'll look away, and then they'll come back to it. Yeah. Other things, the size of the circles, remember, correspond to the duration that the eye was located at that instant, at that location. And it seems that like at the very beginning, the fixation duration is very long on that very first one. The explanation for that is that the first fixation is when you're getting the meaning of the scene. And when you're getting the meaning of the scene, like the coffee shop, the fixation duration on that first fixation is very long. But then, as over time, they get sort of narrower, smaller and smaller. the size of the circles gets smaller, which corresponds to the duration that that's located. It gets smaller and smaller. So going back to the original question, why is it that it takes time to find Waldo? Or why does it actually take time to find Momo? Well, it takes time because you have to make a lot of fixations. It takes time because you have to make a lot of saccades. However, that's not the whole story, right? Because then the question could then become, why do you have to make so many fixations, and why do you have to make so many saccades? So this is all to say that attention seems to be limited to specific locations at specific times. So the specific location part, going back to the previous example, was the attention seemed to be, or the eye movement, seemed to be located at one place at a time. And then the time component comes from sort of the ordering of the fixation. So attention isn't limited to just the location, but it's also limited to that location at that specific time. And then the next question, how can we actually measure that? Well, one way is by measuring eye movements, right? However, there's this sort of weird conundrum with using eye movements, and that is you can actually attend to locations that you're not necessarily looking, right? So a good example of this would be like if I am looking at Prashant, so my eye is fixated at him, but you can actually attend to things in your periphery. Like I can look at Dr. Luck, or I can not look at, I'm looking at Prashant, but I can attend covertly to Dr. Lushki, especially when he's moving his hands. I can definitely see the movement. Or maybe I can look at Prashant and attend to the door, right? It's much more difficult because it's further in my periphery. Yeah, and you can actually try this as well, right? So like if you're looking at me,